Hey, Bastich B for 64K, and welcome to another episode of Pop Culture Quick Bytes. And welcome back. So today's episode is all about the latest Bitmap Books release, Go Straight, the ultimate guide to the side-scrolling beat-em-up. So this is another one of these massive Bitmap Books history of a certain genre. This is obviously the scrolling beat-em-up genre. This covers everything from the 1980s right up to 2021. There's over 450 pages in this book and over 200 different games reviewed. Bear in mind, this is not only arcade games covered here, but games from all formats. So let's first take a look at this book physically, and then we'll check out some of its main features. I absolutely love this cover. The colors are so vibrant. It's got a little bit of characters from all different games if you really look carefully. And there it is, Go Straight, the ultimate guide to side-scrolling beat-em-ups. And as per Bitmap's high standards, the spine is really hard and secure. Your pages aren't going to be falling out like I've had in other books. The quality of the paper also extremely thick as usual and is very durable. And here's all the systems on display, and being a UK release means they haven't completely dismissed computer games, unlike most US publications of the same style. And with hundreds of games reviewed, they've got all the heavy hitters plus a lot of obscure ones, or even games that aren't all that great. So the main content of this book is obviously all the reviews, so let's take a closer look on how they set out. The book's got this awesome foreword by Yoshihisa Kishimoto, which I'll talk about pretty soon. I think that's a fantastic score for this book. And the reviews are set out in pretty standard fashion, with these nice big splash screens in between, which I really love. And you've got these big fold-out gateways, which I think is fantastic. It really brings these games to life. You've also got intros to each decade, so it puts things into context. And you got all your big favorites, the ones that you actually expect to be in here. They're all covered in full detail. And you've also got games from the modern era. So it's not just restricted to retro style. But of course you've got all your favorite heavy hitters as well. You can't have a book like this without them. Again, top quality as usual. So the writing as usual is excellent Bitmap Book stuff. There's a lot of humor in there, it's written really well. Obviously the information is excellent. What I really like though is that they don't just cover the top-notch scrolling beat-em-ups, they also throw in some trash in there, so you're not just getting this glossed over look at scrolling beat-em-ups in general. There's some really bad games which I really like. There's also great introductions to each decade, which really sums up the look and feel of what was happening at the time. I especially like the introduction by Yoshihisa Kishimoto right at the beginning of the book. If you don't know who he is, he was the godfather of the scrolling beat-em-ups from Technos. He may not have made the original scrolling beat-em-up, but his games like Renegade and Double Dragon definitely defined the whole genre. So overall, again, Bitmap Books delivers. I can never say anything really negative about their products. Their books are just so well crafted. If you love genres, specific genres of games, you need to check out their whole back catalog. It's just fantastic. This is another excellent tome. It's going to take you forever to read through all this information. There's so much stuff packed in here. Obviously, shipping for this thing is a little bit expensive because it's a massive tome. It's nowhere near what I've come across on other books though, so just bear that in mind. But it's well worth the investment, and I would highly recommend it to any fan of this genre. And if you want to pick up this book for yourself, here's how. Yeah, so head on over to bitmapbooks.co.uk and you can check out Go Straight. plus all the other excellent books like the recently released A Guide to Japanese Role-Playing Games, which I also covered in a previous episode, and I've got many other episodes covering the other great stuff. Go check it out. And thanks for joining me, Bastich B at 64K. I hope you had a good time, and if you can please like and subscribe, they'll be greatly appreciated. I'll see you next time. Cheers. Hey, Bastich B here for 64K, and welcome to another episode of Pop Culture Quick Bytes.
Well, that was a pleasantly understated credit sequence.
I enjoyed the cheesy retro ambiance.
And welcome back. So today we're going to have a look at this awesome book called The Art of the Point-and-Click Adventure Games, released by Bitmap Books in 2018. So here's a few more of Bitmap Books' previous releases that I own that I would highly recommend you check out as well. So first up, I just want to say this is another amazing tome by Bitmap Books. I cannot believe how good this book is. This is 476 pages, just look at that. Hardcover, excellent quality. The quality of this is amazing. They really went all out. This is nothing cheap. I mean, look at the quality of this.
Welcome to the wonderful world of space.
So if you've ever had any interest in the point-and-click adventure genre, like the ones over here, is Cryindia, that's Jack McCracken and Maniac Mansion on the C64 there. This genre is absolutely awesome. I wasn't expecting this book to be such high quality. I don't know why I wasn't expecting that. As you can see, I own a whole bunch of Bitmap books anyway, but this one just blew me away, especially the amount of information in here. It's really meticulous. It starts right at the beginning of the whole genre and goes right up until the now. So I want to give you a quick run through of what this book looks like and its main chapters. I don't want to show every little detail, but I'm going to cover most of the stuff so you get a good impression of what it's like. And here it is, The Art of Point-and-Click Adventure Games. So right at the beginning here, you've got an overall history of the entire genre. It goes from 1984 to 2017, and this is like a great little mini history just to get you into the whole book. And it's also great for newbies to the genre. You can get an overall impression of the entire genre just from a few pages. And over here is a game that they're going to highlight as Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade. And as you can see, you got an interview with one of their creators. This is a 2-page interview, very in-depth and awesome. One thing I wasn't expecting about this book is the sheer amount of interviews they have in it. They have 42 interviews with point-and-click adventure creators. That is a lot. I wasn't expecting anything near that amount. They got all the usual heavyweights like Ron Gilbert, Al Lowe, Jim Walls, all the guys from Sierra, all that kind of stuff, but they've got a lot of other people that I've personally never heard of, although I do know their games, and those were absolutely fascinating to read. Also the ones with the big shots, the guys that I've just mentioned, and a whole bunch of others, those are also pretty good reads as well. I've read a lot of interviews with those guys over the years, and there's quite a lot of good information in here which I've never heard them mention before. The interviews are done really well. I would highly recommend reading all of them, especially the ones about the guys you don't know about, because those actually I found even more fascinating than the big stuff.
Take on the world.
One thing that I really like about this book is that it's not just focused on PC only point-and-click adventure games. In the beginning especially, they focus a lot on the Commodore 64 games like Zack McCracken, the Alien Mindbenders over there, and Maniac Mansion and Labyrinth and all those ones that I know and love. So it's a full history of everything, which is really awesome, and I was really blown away by one of the games they have covered right at the end of the book. It's called Karen and the Tangled Tentacles. This is a game, a point-and-click adventure game for the Commodore 64 also. I'm going to be covering it in a future video pretty soon. Anyway, that is a brilliant little point-and-click adventure game. It was just nice to see that in here. The PC coverage on this is brilliant.
So long, sucker.
So the bulk of the book is from 1984 to 2017. You basically see every single game that came out each year, and they move along like that, throwing in interviews with certain games along the way. 42 interviews, Plus the amount of games in here, there's hundreds and hundreds of games shown. It's really, really awesome. For the most part, you're going to probably find the game you're looking for in here. That's why I said it's like 276 pages. It's pretty meticulous. I will say though, just so you understand this, from 2000 to 2017, the information is pretty slim, but that's more, if you know anything about the point and click genre, that's more because the genre kind of died out and it's slowly been making its way back over the last few years, definitely, but you know, there was a period where these games were barely made, so that is for the most part the reason why those years are pretty lean. I just want to let you know that so you understand that if you're buying this because you're a younger person and those kind of games excited you, there's not a huge amount of information 2017, but anything before that, it's massive.
The shields are falling. A weapon to rough line.
The book's also got this really awesome glossary in it. It's got all the words and terms used to describe these kinds of games. So if you are new to the genre and you're picking this up because you want to go back and find out the history of these games, then you're not going to feel lost when you're reading these reviews or anything, and I think that's pretty awesome. So overall, I would highly recommend this book. It's really excellent. If you ever had any sort of inkling about finding out about this genre or wanting to try it out, get this, and it's got everything you ever want to know about the genre. It's quite amazing. I would also suggest you check out their other books, those ones there. I've got a whole bunch of them, as I've shown earlier. I've also got the Amiga one, which I didn't show there, which is a brilliant book as well. It's just high quality. Also, just check out the video description. I'll leave a link to Bitmap Books where you can find this excellent book. And thanks for joining me, Bastich B, at 64K. If you could like and subscribe, that'll be greatly appreciated. And I'll see you next time. Cheers. Hey, Bastich B here for 64K, and welcome to episode number 30 of Pop Culture Quick Bytes. And welcome back. So in today's episode, we're going to be featuring the book The Super Famicom Box Art Collection, released by Bitmap Books in 2016. So this book is almost 300 pages full of Japanese box art, Super Famicom box art. If you collect for the Super Famicom, then you know that the cover art for those games, the Japanese cover art, is absolutely amazing. That's what this book is dedicated to highlighting. Okay, so let's start taking a look at this book physically before we go on and check out some of its main features. And this book features 260 different Japanese games, published by Bitmap Books, on really nice glossy pages. And as you can see, most of this is dedicated to box art. There's very few other little articles. Okay, so now we're going to take a closer look on how they set out the look and style of this book. So this book was written by Stuart Brett, went on, to go through all the different motions as all us gamers go through to the Famicom, the Super Famicom, which he absolutely loved. He's gathered together a bunch of people from the industry, guys that have worked on Commodore Format magazine, which I used to read, Edge magazine and all that. They all contribute a little bit to this book in some sort of way. I love the way the photos are taken of the box art. It's absolutely beautiful the way they've taken it. As a collector of Super Famicom box games, this is just absolutely awesome because there's so many here that I don't have, and just looking at the artwork is amazing. I like the write-ups they also got about each game. It doesn't get too dramatic and overboard. They just give you enough information to give you an idea of what the game is like. There's no screenshots of the games in here. You might find that weird, but that's not what this is about. I actually kind of like just looking at the box art and kind of imagining what this game is. Then I'd usually go check it out on an emulator to see if it's something I would actually want to play and mess around with. And obviously check out the box art, because that's what this whole book is all about, a celebration of Super Famicom awesomeness. Overall, as a collector, I absolutely love this book. It's going to depend on, whether you want to get this, if you're interested in kind of gaming box art, classic gaming box art, or more importantly, Japanese box art, because that's what this is really a celebration of. But me personally, I would highly recommend checking out this book. So if you like this review of what I had to say about this book, I'll leave a link in the video description straight to Bitmap Books website so you can pick it up. And thanks for joining me, Bastich B at 64K. I hope you had a good time. And if you can please like and subscribe, that'll be greatly appreciated, and I'll see you next time. Cheers. Hi, I'm Bastich B at 64K, and welcome to Pop Culture Quick Bytes, episode number 6. So in today's episode, we're going to cover the Commodore Amiga, a visual compendium. This was released in 2015 by Bitmap Books. So Bitmap Books, you should check out their website as well. Have a bunch of these other cool compendium books that they do. Another one that I have here is the Commodore 64 version. Their website, they also have the NES Famicom version of this, which is fantastic. I've actually got that on pre-order. And they're going to have an upcoming one as of making this video. It's probably going to be out by the time this video comes out. It's the Super Nintendo Super Famicom version. That looks really cool too. If it's anything like this book, then it's going to be fantastic. Okay, so these books really like to show visually the graphics of these games, whether it's a 16 or 8 depending on which book you buy. The Amiga one here, they like showing these massive 2-page spreads with a little bit of info about usually a developer that worked on the game or somebody that's a massive fan in the industry, talk about the game a little bit as Lemmings. It's just done so well. It's not just about showcasing graphics. There are lots of other cool chapters in this book that I'll tell you about right now. So some of the chapters are following. You get one about the creation of the Amiga from start to finish, how it all came about. It's a nice little quick history lesson if you don't know anything about the computer. This book is really also good. If you're starting to collect for the Amiga, if you want to start collecting the games, this is extremely good information. It's got tons and tons of info, not just on the Amiga games, but a little bit about all the other stuff. You have interviews with different programmers that worked on different games, different software publishing houses, companies such as Cinemaware who did Defender of the Crown and Rocket Ranger, and you got interviews with other companies like Factor 5 who did Turrican and stuff like that. Yeah, the middle section of this book is just dedicated to Amiga box art, the box art of the classic games. They're really, this is a really cool section. I really like it a lot. Showcases a lot of the most famous games and also some of the weirdest ones that I've never seen before. It also makes you weep a bit because the Mon game box art is so pathetic in comparison. Almost every game released now is just put some dude standing on the cover with a gun with his back towards the box, or it's like a close-up of some dude's face, and that's supposed to be a representation of the game. You know, it's kind of embarrassing really when you got like beautiful stuff that was made like this. Look at that Monkey Island shot. You know, it's a sad state of box art affairs. There's also a cool section on unreleased games for the Amiga. Like this one over here, you can see the Putty Squad. That was a game made by System 3, who made the Last Ninja series. This game was supposed to come out in 1994. For whatever reason it didn't come out, and the game just sat on the shelf. There were preview copies out there that a lot of magazines did reviews of, and it got like in the high 90% or like 9 out of 10 kind of thing. So it was a really good game. System 3 eventually in 2013 decided to release the game, so it's out there on the internet for free, which is pretty awesome. Yeah, overall this book is really cool. You should also check out Bitmap Books, their other stuff. Their Super Famicom box art collection book is fantastic also. I'll show that on a future episode. I got that. It's great. If you're a classic Amiga collector and you just love the system and the games, you're gonna love this. It's just such a well-made book. It's massive. There's a lot of content in here. If you, like I said earlier, if you're thinking about collecting for the Amiga, this will be a good thing to pick up. It's a lot of good information, a lot of games showcased, a lot of great developers showcased also, a bit of a history of the Amiga, unreleased games. You've got a whole gamut of stuff to look through. Okay, thanks for joining me, Bastich B at 64K, and that was another episode of Pop Culture Quick Bytes. We'll be back with more pretty soon. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. I'll be appreciated. Leave some comments if you want. It's all welcome. And with that, let's cue the credits. Hey, Bastich B here for 64K, and welcome to Pop Culture Quick Bytes, episode number 31. And welcome back. On today's episode, I'm going to have a look at a new book called the PC Engine Box Art Collection. This was released by Bitmap Books at the end of June 2023. So this book is about 370 pages dedicated to highlighting the box art of the Japanese PC Engine games. There's a PC Engine I picked up a couple of months ago. It's the first time I've ever owned one. If you're unfamiliar with this system, it was released later in 1989 under the name the TurboGrafx 16 in the Western countries. This is the original Japanese version. This is the Core Graphics 2. And this is the collector's edition version. It's got like a hard shell cover, and then you can pull out the book. I'll show you that in a second. I'll also show you what the regular version looks like.
interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Xbox 360シューターコレクションスペシャル。
Okay, so let's have a quick look at the main contents page and a few other sections in this book. Okay, so now let's get on to the bulk of the book, all that excellent PC Engine box art. I'll show you how they set it out and all the little extras around it. Each game has its own mini review, plus screenshots at the bottom of the page, and of course a great look at the box art. And this book is written by Kurt Kalata. He writes excellent books. If you're not familiar with this stuff, it's the Hardcore Gaming 101 series, like this one here, the Japanese Video Game Obscurities book that I own. I actually own a lot of his books. This is excellent. I'll have to do a video on this in the future as well. Anyway, the way this is set out is excellent. I like the neutral color backgrounds that they chose. That kind of represents the cover of the game. Then it just gives your focus onto the actual cover. It makes it easy to look at. The little mini reviews are also really good. They have usually some really obscure fact about the game. And at the bottom of the page there's also screenshots of the games, which is very useful, especially for me that's not familiar with the system as much as I really want to be. So, you know, it gives me a good idea of whether I want to try it out through emulation and then take it one step further and buy a physical copy if I really like the game. And this is just overall another fantastic book by Bitmap Books. This is not a promotion by any means. I bought this with my own money. I'm a fan, really. I've got so many of their books. They are just fantastic. They're not like, you know, quick, cheap Kickstarter money grabs. These are real books with real content. And if you're a fan of the PC Engine, it's a must buy. If you're unfamiliar with the system, I would also suggest picking this up. I found this really useful. The focus here is obviously on the box art, but there's enough descriptions of the games, the history of the PC Engine itself, the screenshots. It's enough to really get your blood pumping to go play these games and find out more about them. So I would say it's also a pretty good guide for beginners, even though that's not its real purpose. And I'll leave links in the description so you can go check out this book itself at Bitmap Books, Please also check out the other back catalogue. There is so many good stuff to look at. And that's it, a wrap on another episode of Pop Culture Quick Bytes. Thanks for joining me, Bastich B, at 64K. I hope you had a good time. If you can, please like and subscribe. They'll be greatly appreciated, and I'll see you next time. Cheers. Hey, Bastich B for 64K, and welcome to episode 16 of Pop Culture Quick Bytes. And welcome back. So in today's episode, I'm going to have a look at the CRPG book by Bitmap Books, which was released in April 2019. Okay, so as the name suggests, CRPG book. The C here stands for Computer RPG. So this is a complete history of computer video game RPGs from 1975 right up to 2015. It's got 528 pages full of reviews and retrospectives on all these games. This is obviously not every single RPG ever released, but it covers a lot. There's over 400 reviews. So that's a pretty insane amount. As you can see, this is hardcover. This is top quality Bitmap Books at its best, as per usual. This is the regular version. There's also a special edition you can order. It comes in like a slipcase. It comes with graph paper, to like map your way through those pesky old dungeons. It also has some postcards and a poster. I just chose the regular one because I'm not interested in any of that. These books also come with a PDF, so if you want to check it out on your iPad or whatever you want to use it for, it comes with that as well. So before we go any further with the review, let's take a closer look at the contents of the book. Here's a nice look at the cover art. It's really, really well done. It kind of reminds me of old big box PC games. Here's the contents, all the games reviewed, just gives you just an impression of how many there actually are. There's also some bonus chapters up here, but I'll tell you about those later. The bulk of the book though is reviews. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the main sections of the book now. I would say it's broken down into about 8 major parts. Like I said earlier, it's the complete history of CRPGs from 1975 to 2015. They've broken it down into 4-year periods, so it's kind of like 75 to 79, that's one section. There's about 8 of these right up to 2015. So we're going to have a look at the book right now. I'll show you every single section, all 8 of them. I'll just show you 2 brief reviews from each section so you can get like a kind of a overall impression of the kind of games that are reviewed in here. Obviously, like I said, there's over 400 reviews, so I'll just give you a little taste of each one. I don't want to spoil everything. You definitely want to go through this yourself and just savor all the goodness. And yeah, we have at the beginning of gaming, 1975 to 1979. You got the Atari 2600 and the first computers were introduced. A Calibeth, the precursor to Ultima, was in this period, as well as Dungeon Quest. You got 1980 to 1984, the birth of the home computer and MS-DOS. You got games like Rogue, where the roguelike comes from, and Wizardry. 1985 to 1989, this is where console gaming was introduced. You got Bard's Tale by Interplay and Deathlord by EA. 1990 to 1994, we got a massive jump in graphics and sound. You got Ultima 5, Eye the Beholder, the massive dungeon crawler. 1995 to 99, 3D was introduced. You got Diablo during this period, as well as the original Fallout. 2000 to 2004, the rise of the modern game industry. This gave us really powerful 3D accelerator cards and really powered up consoles. We got Baldur's Gate 2 during this period, and Elder Scrolls 3, 2000 to 2009. The modern era of multi-platform AAA games. Social media started to creep in. You had Steam with digital distribution. You got Jade Empire by BioWare and The Witcher by CD Projekt Red. 2010 to 2014, this is the freedom to play however you want kind of time. VR, Twitch streaming, games that were a lot more open-ended like Mass Effect 2 and Dragon's Dogma that let you go around and complete the game however you wanted to. So I just wanted to talk about the reviews themselves. Now, this book is obviously massive with hundreds and hundreds of games covered. There's over 100 different reviewers reviewing these games, so you get quite a big melting pot of different opinions. Of course, they're covering games that are great. That's the whole point of this book. These are covering excellent games. So obviously the reviews are positive, but they don't shy away from mentioning some of the pitfalls of some of these games. So it's actually real reviews, so they are pretty damn cool. Usually in these types of books, you just get the main information of who made it, when it was released. You get the basic story and maybe some bulletin points on some of the features. You don't usually get a kind of a detailed old style review, something you would have read in PC Gamer or Zap64 or whatever video game magazine you used to read. Also of note is the reviews, they are either 1-page or 2-page spreads depending on the importance of the game. Obviously the original Fallout is significant, it gets 2 pages. Something like The Immortal will get 1 page. So you get enough information about the ones that really matter, plus obviously good info on the other ones. So there's also a bunch of smaller interesting chapters in this book. Let's check them out briefly and I'll show you what they are. And here we got further adventures, a whole bunch of more chapters. This is 1982, 1987, the birth of the Japanese RPG. Got a couple pages here with some of the most significant games in that genre. Fan translations, they also go through a few of these, like SD Snatcher for the MSX2. You also got games you'll likely never play, a bunch of cancelled games, and a glossary for newbies. Okay, so I've covered Bitmap Books before. I've covered the Amiga one, and I've also covered the recent point-and-click adventure books. Excellent tomes. I've got a whole bunch of other ones of theirs which I haven't even made videos of yet, which I will get to eventually. They're a little bit older, but it doesn't matter. Top quality. As per usual, this is excellent, not only in terms of presentation, but obviously context. It's brilliant. I can't even imagine the amount of man hours that must have gone into making this. It's so meticulous. What I would say about this though, if you are an RPG fan, even if you're a console gamer RPG fan, this might be interesting to you. The reason why I say that is a lot of these games were converted to consoles in various different versions. The book does mention what consoles these came out for, so if it came out on the NES or the original Xbox or whatever, it is mentioned here. So it might be interesting to you if you're an actual RPG fan. You can still see the history of it, the computer versions, and you can also get a good insight into those games as well. They're pretty much the same for the most part. Some obviously versions of games are different, but you still get a good overall feeling of it. So if you are a hardcore RPG console gamer, this still might be a good look. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, the brief little look into this book. Obviously I didn't show everything. I want to leave some sort of mystery for you when you check it out. There's a lot of good stuff in here. Obviously I'll leave a link in the description so you can get to Bitmap Books if you want to order this book. Fantastic stuff. Thanks for joining me, Bastich B at 64K. If you can like and subscribe, that'll be greatly appreciated, and I'll see you next time. Cheers. Hey, Bastich B for 64K, and welcome to episode number 25 of Pop Culture Quick Bytes. And welcome back. So in today's episode, we're going to be having a look at this book. This is the Guide to Japanese Role-Playing Games, released by Bitmap Books. This came out in the last couple of months of 2021. Okay, so what's this book about? It's Japanese role-playing games, obviously. So this covers everything from the early 80s right up till now. So if you're a fan of just this genre in general, from the beginning to end, this is an absolute must tome to own. I mean, look at the size of this. It's absolutely massive. This is 652 pages worth of information and over 600 reviews. That's a crazy amount. What I like about this book though, besides obviously the quality of it, is that it doesn't just do a simple A to Z of games. It jumps into different genres. It categorizes them, to strategy RPGs or dungeon crawlers. Not only that, they look at certain companies, big prolific companies. And they also dive into series. So if you want to know more about, say, the Star Ocean series, it's got all the games here, all compiled nicely for you to read through. So before we go any further, let's check out the front and back cover in a little bit more detail. And the first thing you'll notice here is obviously this gorgeous artwork. It's a bit anime, but it's also got a bit of a Western style to it. I just really love the look of it. The spine is really hard and secure. It's got that cool gold foil lettering, which I absolutely love. And also the built-in bookmark, which is super cool. The back has obviously got more of this excellent artwork. It's absolutely wonderful. I just love it. And obviously a description of the book itself. Just pure absolute quality. Okay, now we're going to check out the contents page and give you a little bit of a broader perspective of what's in this book overall. And the contents has sections on like different RPG series, big companies, also miscellaneous games, which is very interesting. At the bottom it shows all the systems that these games came out for. And if you know nothing about JRPGs, it's got a nice overview, a history of JRPGs in Japan. And here's a subject that never gets covered, Japanese PC RPGs. This is probably one of the most fascinating parts. There's a lot of games I know about, there's also a lot that I've never heard of. So for me personally, this is one of the best sections of the book. And of course you've got all the major companies covered, as well as different subgenres of RPGs. And what I really like is these overviews of different series. You got the Wizardry series, you got some Dragon Quest, you got stuff that's not only obscure but also obviously the mainstream stuff as well. So the writing in this book is pretty excellent. There's over 30 different contributors that contributed to the making of this book in terms of reviews and series reviews and company reviews, etc, etc. So you get, I feel like when you're reading it, you're getting people's perspectives that actually love the genre or love the series that they're covering. So you can tell by the writing, it's just really meticulous and really just full of good information, stuff that you probably wouldn't even know or even find really hard to dig up on the internet. I also like the way things are set out. It's very clean, it's very simple, it's not overdone. They could have really gone like overboard on this and like put like pictures like everywhere and backgrounds and made it hard to read, if you know what I mean. They've just kept it very simple, white backgrounds, you can read things easily, screenshots are excellent, they just a nice variety for each game, so you're not just seeing like basically like, you know, if you're looking at a dungeon crawler, you're not only just seeing the dungeon crawling parts, you're seeing like when you go into a shop or story mode parts, so you get like an overall view of the game in your mind at least, as opposed to just like one type of shot. It's simple, but it's done really well. And there's a lot of great chapters in this book, so let's check out some of the other ones. So you got a section here on JRPG soundtracks and their popularity in Japan. You got one on anime and how it's intertwined with JRPGs for different games. You got a section on remakes showing some old and new remakes. You got sections covering complete series like I mentioned earlier. This is just one of my personal favorites. You also got like more of the second tier RPG series like Star Ocean or Valkyrie Profile, they all covered here too. Sakura Wars and other series like that. Of course what I've shown you is just a small sampling of what's in this book. Okay, so overall, obviously I'm a fan of this company. I think they just make absolute top quality books. I own a whole bunch of them. I got the Commodore 64 ones, I got the Amiga one, I got the point and click adventure one. I did a video on it over there. I've done a video on a few of their books, so please check them out if you're interested in the other ones. This thing overall is just such good quality. I think even if you're not a JRPG fan, this is still an absolute excellent read. Just overall, it's just bursting with quality and well-written reviews. As far as the price goes, I think the book is priced reasonably well. The shipping is going to be a little bit tough if you live outside of the UK. If you live in the UK, you should seriously pick this up. There's no excuse. But if you live outside the UK like I do, I live in Canada, the shipping's a little bit high. but I think it's still reasonable. I've tried to import a couple of video game related books from different countries in the last couple months, and the shipping has been beyond ridiculous. Like, it's 3 times or 2 times the actual cost of the actual book, and I cannot justify that, obviously. This is still reasonable, so it's not going to blow your bank balance, but so if you live outside of the UK, Canada, US, or anywhere else really, you can still get this book, and it won't kill you. I still highly recommend it though. I think they've tried to keep the prices down as much as possible. Overall, it's just another fantastic Bitmap Books release. And if you want more information on how to buy this book, I'll leave links in the description. And also, I just wanted to mention that this is like a companion piece to the CRPG book, covering Western PC RPGs, which is excellent as well. And I've done a video on that book also, and both are well worth getting. And thanks for joining me, Bastich B at 64K. I hope you had a good time. And if you can please like and subscribe, that'll be greatly appreciated, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.